Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. In case you're new here, welcome to your first time for the Industry Partnerships monthly webinar from CareerRise. If this is not your first time, welcome back. We're glad to have you. Would love to have you use the chat, introduce yourself, just tell us your name. Obviously, we can see it in the chat, but still, use your name, what organization you're with, and what part of Georgia are you from? If you're not from Georgia, let us know where you're from, what state, what area. We'd love to just make some connections this morning. Great to see familiar faces and names, but also some new ones as well. Amy Jones, good to see you. Alyssa Soloran Dillard, thank you for joining us. Bonnie, thanks for joining today. Um, Monica Ridza, good to see you. Saf Espinoza, thanks for joining. All righty, today's agenda. We have a great presentation for you. I'm really excited about our presenter and the content we have for you today. A very timely topic that I think will be very important information, good stuff for us to take home. We'll have some information for you about CareerRise, who we are, what we do, in case you're new to our organization. We'll have a welcome from one of our local WorkSource directors, and then a presentation about helping employees survive difficult economic and financial times. I don't know about you, but I feel the strain every time I check out at the grocery store or go out to eat, or the list goes on and on. Prices of goods and services continue to rise, and workers are going to feel the crunch. So how can we help support those workers in difficult economic times? We'll leave some time for Q&A there at the end. We'll have some updates for you from the CareerRise team, and then we'll wrap up and get you out of here on time by 12 p.m. So, in case you are new to us, welcome again. Thank you for joining us today and spending your morning with us. CareerRise is a nonprofit organization. We've been in operation for about 13 years now, but separated from our incubator, I could say, of the United Way of Greater Atlanta, and became a freestanding nonprofit organization 2 years ago. Uh, our mission is to advance economic mobility and regional prosperity by creating and strengthening partnerships that meet employer needs for skilled talent and connect Metro Atlanta residents to sustainable wage careers. And our vision is that Metro Atlanta will be a strong, thriving, and equitable community with skilled employees connected to good jobs. And I really like this graphic here because it shows how workforce funders, employers, supportive services, training providers are all connected as part of this ecosystem, and CareerRise can help connect the dots between all of these various parts of the workforce ecosystem and make it a little easier for all of us to collaborate and navigate the system together. Within CareerRise, we have different programmatic areas. I am the Director of Industry Partnerships, so I have the pleasure of leading the Industry Partnerships team. And what the Industry Partnerships team does is make workforce development easier for employers and those who support them. How we do that is by educating our partners, employers especially, about the workforce development system and give some help navigating through it because it can be challenging when you have a lot of different organizations who are eager to work with you or have resources that you can tap into. And you don't know where to start or where to go, what to do, or maybe you're completely unaware of what's out there. We can be a trusted resource for you to help navigate through this complicated system. We help create alignment and drive towards common goals. We all want workers to succeed because a successful workforce means successful businesses and industry. And we want to make sure that both of those systems really flourish. And then we can help build capacity and provide support through low-risk programming. Many of the programs and services that CareerRise and by extension industry partnerships offer are no or low cost for employers and for other partners to participate in. So We want to make it easy to engage in this system and make it low risk so that you can build what you're doing, build out best practices, and do it in a way that doesn't impact your business in a negative way. This webinar series really speaks to that first bullet point about educating and helping navigate. In our webinars, we provide innovative and practical ideas, tools, and resources to really empower employers to make change and help their workers and their business succeed. We have 5 priority areas that we highlight through our webinar series and through most of our programming. The first one is hiring, candidate sourcing, and workforce planning, really talking about how do we access that available workforce. The second is training and registered apprenticeships, knowing that it's not enough to have available workers, but they also need to be trained and skilled in the right aptitudes, abilities, and skills. Employment success support is all about reducing the barriers to employment, things like childcare, housing, transportation, and that's where today's topic really sits, is with employment success support. Also, quality careers and workplaces. It's not enough to offer jobs, but they should be good jobs, the kind of job that a person would choose to opt into, should they be given a wealth of options to choose from. Lastly, career awareness and promotion is all about educating and training our young people to be prepared for careers in high demand industries, making sure they know what's available to them in their backyard as in terms of career opportunities and the multiple ways they can take to get there. It's a little bit about us, but now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Sonia Wilson-Westmoreland, the Deputy Commissioner of Workforce Services at the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services. So Sonia, I'm going to turn it over to you for our WorkSource welcome.
Thank you, Nate, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Linking Financial Capability to Business Performance. We're excited to have you join us as we explore the critical connection between strong financial skills and the overall performance, resilience, and growth of a business. Whether you're a business leader, financial professional, or someone eager to better understand how the financial capability drives strategic success, in this session we'll offer valuable insights and practical takeaways. Thank you for being here, and let's get started. Back to you, Nate.
Thank you, Sonia. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Bill Langley, the founder and principal of QAR Financial, who will talk to us today about how we can support workers and linking financial capability to business performance. Mr. Langley, take it away.
Thank you, Nate. And welcome everybody on the webinar. Again, my name is Bill Langley. My background, I'm not an insurance guy and I'm not an advisor. I am a credit guy. So my whole career has been in credit management. So you might say I've been on the dark side all those other years, and now I'm wearing a wider hat these days. This is very important to me as far as well-being goes. Did you know that, you look at the slide here, it talks about well-being, financial well-being, and it's hyphenated. In the United States, it's hyphenated, but if we were in Australia or London, they don't hyphenate that. So we can't even agree on what well-being, how to spell the word well-being. So I want to get into go ahead and get into the slides, and I hope to have a little bit of fun with you on this process as well today, just to make it a little bit more enjoyable, because I will be going through a lot of numbers, and if you're not a numbers person, you're going to get bored with those things, but they're eye-opening numbers that we all need to be aware of. So our learning objectives today is that we want to identify, going back to that well-being part, is financial wellness versus financial capability. So what is the difference of that? We'll also be talking about the current workplace trends, and that's where I'll be going through a lot of those statistics. What are the potential hidden company costs for neglecting financial capability or in the workplace? what are the how we determine the right financial solutions, financial wellness solutions for those employees. And then we'll wrap up with a strategic program and highlight a study of some research that we were doing on this process. So let's go ahead and let's just ask this question for everybody on the call. What is your money personality? Again, what is your money personality? How do you feel about money? And feel free to interact with us on this one. And I do a whole on-site webinar for, not webinars, but actually on-site classes for employees. And we'll spend pretty much a good 30 minutes just on this one slide. So if you attach to the slide or to the square personality, you're actually great with a budget. Think about that in between the lines. However, then you've got the rectangle. The question here is a rectangle. It's kind of a square, but it's a stretched square. It means it actually is a little bit better than a regular square because you actually budget for the unforeseen expenses. If you're a circle personality, that's kind of the nurturing personality. And the best way I like to share an example on this one is if you're a mother and you have 2 children, you're going to go to the grocery store and you have a budget and you're going to buy 10 items in the grocery store. Once you take those 2 children with you and one's sitting in the basket and one's on the floor, they can reach the shelving. You're pretty much sure you're not going to come out with 10 items. The triangle personality, when I talk to that one, those are those people that try to take $1 and turn it into $1.25. Those are probably entrepreneurs, people that do a lot of investing because they do a lot of research to make that money grow. And that last one, that squiggle mark, a lot of people can relate to that one because that's kind of like we don't have a budget. And when it comes to say, for instance, we're waiting for payday to come up on a Friday, but that's when we're going to pay our bills. A lot of time I'll ask people, what do they think a budget is? And a lot of the feedback I'll get is that on Tuesday is when they do their budget, but their way of looking at a budget is figuring out who can't be paid. So they know Friday's coming. So in other words, I can pay this, this, and this, whatever it may be, the water bill, the electricity bill, whatever, but I don't have enough to pay everybody. So somebody's going to have to give up. So that's what they think a budget is. So consider that and again, we have an emotional tie to money. So think about this from your employee's perspective. Your employees have all these money personalities and you have different ones. All of us have different money personalities. Some of us are impulse buyers. Some of us really plan a lot down the road. A lot of people in the workforce, I do a lot of work with Workforce Solutions. Those are people that are laid off. I do rapid response programs with companies that are laying off employees, and we do programs on site. Like today, you're going to have a paycheck, but you know that in 2 weeks you're not going to have a paycheck. So how do you keep your credit as best it can be in this time frame, this transition? So that is when we work with Workforce Solutions, it's a matter of trying to get those employees to understand that we're all walking on a cliff and that tomorrow might not be there. So we need to be prepared for that and any consequences and challenges that go along with that. So let's go ahead and go forward and understand what financial empowerment is. It's identifying money habits. It's changing the behavior. And going back to changing behavior, let's look back at those symbols I was telling about earlier. So in other words, if you're a person that has, say, for instance, you identify with the squiggle, then you're going to be the first person that says, I tell you what, I spend the money when I get it. So what I'll do is I'll put money in the savings and have them take it out of my paycheck in a payroll deduction, and I'll make sure that I don't see it first. So that's how they work around that and adjust to those challenges. And the square personality, a lot of people maybe a bit a squiggle, but if they get laid off on a job, for instance, they quickly go over into square mode because they're going to try to budget with what they have. Their squares might be bigger, might be smaller, but the point is they're going to have to work with that. So let's go ahead and move forward. Visioning goals. When I do programs for employees on site, and they want to do home buyer education classes, for instance, I talk a lot about visioning goals. All I do is give them a blank piece of paper and a box of Crayolas. And I say, vision what this house is going to look like that you want as far as your future is in this house. And you'll be surprised at what they come back. Some people are great artists. Some people just do the stick figures. But the point is that some will put 4 people, 2 adults, 2 children. They'll put a dog in there, that type of thing. But some of them will also draw a car in the driveway. And some will go as far as putting BMW on the plate of the car. So that gives you an idea of the variety of things, and just to envision what those are. It helps to kind of touch it and feel it before you just say, oh, I think I need to save, or I think I need to do this, this, and this. This is more of a way of like understanding what you have to do for it. Building up confidence, that's the empowerment part. Self-worth, not wealth, because the amount of money we have, some of us are very happy with a smaller amount of money, some not so much. They have to have a lot more. So the point is what is that self-worth? And then, of course, the knowledge to implement it. And that's when we'll get into the capability part. But the knowledge of capability. What financial well-being, why does it matter? Now, here I'm going to shower you with a lot of numbers. 85% of Americans feeling anxiety. And 67% of those say it's negatively impacting their health. 43% of adults with health insurance say that they have difficulties affording their deductibles. 39% spend at least 3 hours a week dealing with personal financial issues. Now, this is an important one. Think about it this way. Just figure the average wage for hourly wage is $28 an hour in America. If you have a company that has 100 employees, that's going to be 39 employees. If you do the math, that equates the lost hours of money that you're paying the employees that they're using to do something else with, as far as dealing with the personal finances, that equates to about $150,000 a year. Those 39 employees. Now you can actually, I'm using an example of 100 employees for a company. You can use your own companies, for instance, and do the math for yourself. 42% of Americans do not have an emergency fund. An emergency fund, in other words, something that I can, if I have a car problem or whatever may be the case, I can actually take the money and I can do that, pay for it today without having to charge for it, without having to do something else to finance that situation or that emergency expense. So that's why we say it's emergency savings funds. 25% of adults or family members avoid seeking medical attention because of the cost. 22% admit they have taken unexpected time off from work in the past 12 months to deal with financial issues. And the last one on this slide is important to me because it goes to the Social Security part and the garnishment. In the last 10 years, people over 60, meaning in other words, those approaching retirement, that is in student loans, that is has increased 362%. Those are people that's getting ready to retire. They have student loans and they're now having their Social Security garnishment, and they can do that up to 15% of your Social Security. or they're taking it out of their refund checks. So they do their taxes and they have a refund. They're looking forward to that refund. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, here we go. Well, here's your refund check minus how much you owe us, the government. So the reason those numbers are there, a lot of people they may be laid off from a previous company, and they've had to kind of go for a second career, so to speak. So they've had to go to college, refresh everything, and they take out a student loan. Some of it is grandmother and grandfather who's actually paying for junior or their kids to actually go to college. So let's move forward to some other reasons why financial well-being matters. 73% of Americans consider finances their top stressor. That's more than politics, work, or family. 2/4 of us feel significantly stressed about money. And the important thing about this study, it's the American Psychological Association that did the study, and I call it the X study. What they did is actually went out to those people who actually are on X or Twitter, if you want to call it still that, and they've expressed their feelings publicly to the world. So they actually went out and figured out and created a survey for that, and came up with 66% of them are stressed about money. Financial stress results in the 34% increased absenteeism and tardiness in the office. And that's a SHRM study, mind you. Financially stressed employees miss about twice as many days each year compared to their unstressed counterparts. And that's an ADP study. Financial stress is one factor with a strong independent correlation to domestic violence. Now, think about that one for a minute. Victims of intimate partner violence lose paid work days each year equivalent to 32,000 full-time jobs. And when I talk about the domestic violence, a lot of people don't realize the rest of those statistics. 20% of those are actually third parties. Those are the first responders that show up to that domestic violence scene and are injured in some way, or the innocent bystander that came in to try to help. That number is not really in there as much. So that's when it's important. And we're going to go forward and talk about some other things here about the challenges. So what does financial wellness look like? And the important thing here is I had a colleague that was an HR, and he raises chickens. And so the question here would be, what does chickens have to do with employee financial wellness? And think about this. Chickens, the red comb on the top of their head, that's how you can, if you're actually paying attention to them, you can tell which one are the healthy chickens and which ones are not. Then the ones with the rosy colored comb at the top, those are the healthy ones. And obviously the ones with the maybe pale pink or spotted combs, those are something that's wrong with those chickens. And the important thing about it is that the common indications of chickens, again, what do they have to do with employees' financial health? Sick chickens they usually hide. There's inactivity among them. They have an unusual posture. They lack the appetite. Reduced egg production. Does that sound like some unhealthy employees in the workplace? There might be a correlation between the two. Think about that. What indicators do you look for to determine if employees are healthy and productive? Think about those chickens. How do you identify and address the underlying issues when you notice that something is off with those employees? What data is needed to assess employees' financial wellness needs, offering products and benefits? Does the company offer their benefit offerings? Does it engage all of the employees? Now, that's an important one to say. In other words, whenever the question was asked, the SHRM did this a while back on a study, and they said, do you offer a financial wellness program? Well, you know what the answer was is probably 90% of them said yes, they offer a financial wellness program. Now go back to thinking about the financial wellness versus financial capability. The employers check that box and say, sure. They have a major retirement, Fortune 500 retirement company that does all their programs. So they assume that financial wellness is covered by everybody. But how many of those employees cannot afford maybe to participate in the 401 program? Let's go on and look at this a little bit deeper. Financial wellness versus financial capability. Financial capability focuses on the individual's knowledge, skills, and access to resources needed to manage your finances effectively. Basically, it's a foundation. So let's go forward and think about what is financial wellness. Financial wellness is often viewed as the outcome of financial capability. It delves into the person's feelings, perceptions, and overall sense of security, of freedom. Going back to that foundation, financial wellness provides that security, that they feel secure, that they've got things in control with all their day-to-day activities. They have the capacity to absorb any financial shock. So they basically saved for their unforeseen expenses. They have financial freedom. That's okay. We can go ahead and move forward. So but it's not just the low-wage workers. A lot of times I'll talk with employers and I'll say, well, we have professionals here. We don't have low-wage workers, so we don't need that type. We don't need to do financial wellness on the job. The interesting thing is 20% of the workforce is likely underserved by your total rewards program. So the question is who are they? If there's 20, that means, in other words, you've checked the box that you offer financial wellness, but have you really touched, there's 20% of those employees that can't deal with that. They can't afford those benefits that you're now offering. 53% of upper income Americans, as well as 70% of millennials, are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling with finances. 42% of workers making over $100,000 reporting living paycheck to paycheck. Interesting thing about this stat, I work with a project in the state of New Mexico, and these were government employees, municipal government employees all over the state. And we provided them loans, basically, and financial education to kind of help them through those challenges. And whenever they signed up for those programs, obviously their salary was involved in that, but there's some Q&A involved regarding what happened to them in the last 12 months. We found several employees that made over $100,000 that took out 2 payday loans in the last 12 months. They were not low-wage workers. They were $100,000, but they took out payday loans. Financial challenges of a few can indeed impact the entire workforce. Now let's move on and figure out how much does it impact the workforce. Financial stress, the employer's risk on this. Irritability, and by the way, this is research by the Employee Assistance Professional Association. So basically, if you have an EAP in your workplace, this is the source for that. Irritability and frequent signs of anger. That goes to workplace violence, health, and safety. I did a program similar to this last week, and somebody, an HR person, had just come from an active shooter training program. So this resonated very well with them. They were upset, worrying about the job performance because it's interfering with spending that 3 hours a week 3 hours a week dealing with their personal financial issues. That goes to productivity. Sleep disturbance caused by concern over money issues, health and safety. Now think about the safety part of that. What if you have employees on the assembly line and they're working with machinery that may be stamps or cuts or something of some nature like that. If they're preoccupied with their money issues, that could be a safety issue. It also could affect somebody else's safety on the job as well. Fluctuations in weight causing erratic eating habits goes to the health. They're going to be actually taking some more sick days, maybe. But frequently, prolonged minor illnesses are caused using more sick days. That's a productivity on the job. Unexpected days off. Overuse of alcohol and drugs. There's a lot of employees that are in the transportation industry. I've worked with an airline company. Those people that are up there flying that plane sometimes have some issues too. So they're employees as well. So let's move on again to common signs that occur in the workplace that may signal to the employers that employee is financially stressed. They were withdrawing multiple loans against retirement saving programs. They're asking for payday advances. They have unexpected absences, going to what we said earlier. Medical issues that could have been avoided through preventative care. And think about the medical issues. What about high blood pressure? If they're stressed on the job, and we already know that the stats are there about the financially stressed employees and how that's one of the top 3 factors, if not the highest factor that stresses out employees. If they have high blood pressure, they're going to have a lot more visits to the doctor regarding those high blood pressure issues. So let's move on to the next one. The risks for the disconnects. These are always interest me because these are the other side of the statistic. We already know what the employees are saying. Almost 60% of HR executives say employees have mentioned experiences where they have faced financial issues all the time or often. Within the last year, financially distressed employees have been twice as likely to resort to predatory payday lenders. On an average, if you're not familiar with the payday lender industry, that's 400% interest rates. And in some cases, it's 600% interest rates. Or they might be withdrawing funds from their retirement accounts or just postponing retirement altogether. So they're going to stick around a while longer. Near 2/3 of employees of the emerging Gen Z workforce feel that workplace financial wellness is their employer's responsibility. The C-suite, the executives often overlook the financially underserved employees, those 20% I was telling you about earlier. They just check the fact that, okay, it's in the budget. We're going to pay this company to do this, our financial wellness, which is basically their retirement program. And that's it. They're not looking at any individual numbers. All they're looking at the bottom line of what it costs. The benefits executives, and this one always really baffles me because benefits executives, the total rewards executives, say that a lack of employee interest is among their top challenges in offering financial wellness benefits. Then that's followed by cost, privacy, and complexity to implement a rounded out program for the, and that's their top concerns. So workplace financial well-being. Should we be reactive or proactive in this process? So let's talk about a strategy to drive the business success. This is part of a study. I'm going to highlight this study because it's a study that went out. We actually went to the employers. I was an advisor to this program a few years ago, and the Center for Social Development at the Washington University at St. Louis did this program, and they continue to do a lot of great work on this same program to follow up on this basic study that came out. And the findings were just eye-openers. But we actually went to the employers and went in-house and talked to the employees to get all this feedback and got both parties talking to each other. And we came out with employers' motivation for offering the employee a financial wellness program should be to help the employees, not just the numbers name, not just the fact of, oh, let's just keep up with ABC company is doing this, so we want to be competitive. So let's just do that too. Not just look at the numbers game. Services should be designed in accordance with the needs of the employees. So understanding the culture of the employees. Obviously, the needs of the employees or the older employees are different than the ones that are the ones coming into the workforce. To identifying both those, it's not that one size fits all program. Services should be easily to work with employees and should be easy for them to use. To be effective, an employee's financial wellness program must have a champion within the company. Obviously, the CEO would be a great person, but it doesn't have to be that one. It can be ambassadors, those employees. My best employees, my programs that I've done, the most successful ones that got attendance were those HR managers or coordinators that basically what I call been touched by the system. They actually have had personal experiences, life experiences, and they came through those things. Or they might have family experiences, and they know that. Or they're adults that have children in college. I had an HR person recently contact me after I did a program because they had a child who was in college who got in the credit card debt. And the credit card company was calling mama in order to try to pay that debt. And obviously didn't have an obligation to do it, but now the purse strings were there. And it was kind of like, do I take care of my child or not? She had this dilemma of what to do. And she had to make a decision. Does she want to affect her own credit to help the child out? This type of situation. So those are the ones that are good champions for the programs. Programs should be continually amended to improve based on the feedback, constantly talking to the employees. And a good way to talking to employees is maybe kind of sometimes do it anonymously. When you do surveys, do it anonymously. Employees have a tendency to be proud of where they don't want the world to know about their personal financial issues. So it's important to find out ways to talk, to get them to talk. They're not going to go to the office and say, I need financial wellness. They're just not going to do that. When I've had classes, for instance, and they want me to do a budgeting class or they want me to do a debt management class, chances are I'm not going to get a lot of attendance if we promote that as a come and listen to Bill talk about debt management. They just don't want to be seen going in there because it throws out a flag that they have financial issues. So we'll take that program and we'll turn it into how to maximize your credit. That has a more of a positive feel. We have a lot more people come to that one. But the interesting thing is at the end of the program, the Q&A turns to debt management. There was one employee will say, well, I have this problem with a creditor. I can't deal with that. It's affecting my credit. So what do I deal with that? And then all of a sudden, we have another employee on the other side of the room that says, well, I have the same situation. And now we're all talking. But remember, it started out how to maximize your credit. Services should be integrated into a company established routines. In other words, it can't be a separate component because they're already used to going to one platform. You don't plug it in and say, oh, by the way, here's an 800 number, you call them. It's just not going to work that way. So it needs to be more something they can adapt, that they have that's already in place. Let's go ahead and move forward. I'm going to credit a colleague of mine, Ellen Frank Miller. She has a company. She and I worked on this study when we did this program for Washington University. She has founded a company called WORC, WORC, and that stands for Workforce Organizational Research. She's done a really good job on this program. She helped with this slide a while back. Understanding employees' financial lives, assess employment financial needs, select programs, implement, and evaluate. Going back to the fact of going and constantly going back to those employees and getting the feedback. Let's go ahead and move forward. What data can help employers understand their employees' financial lives? In other words, this is information that's already there that you have at your disposal. You don't really have to get it from the employees because it's already provided. So you can use your HRS systems to do this. Wage and salary ranges are there. You can use the calculators. Retirement plan differential rates. This can be dealt with through that same program. Retirement plan hardship withdrawals. You already know which ones are coming to get those withdrawals. Benefit package audits. Check out the premiums and deductibles compared to the wage rates. Paid time off policies. Go ahead and move forward. Employee feedback. What are the realities of employees' financial lives? What are the most pressing needs for those employees? Again, you've got the older employees and younger employees. What is the pressing needs in their lives? You already know from a previous survey that over 70% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck. So we already kind of know that the data is already there. What do they think would help them the most? Insights from on-the-ground management. This is actually going to those supervisors, the ones that are actually in the trenches with the employees. Who's asking who's unsatisfied at their office? Who's missing work more often? They know the ones that are coming in. Ones that may be having some addiction issues on a job. They know which ones they are. Ask them as a group what should be addressed for those employees. Perceptions of how it would help. Let's move on to the next one. Workplace financial well-being value proposition for the C-suite. How do you sell this program to the employees? When employers, the C-suite is looking at just the numbers game, we already know about return on investment. It's basically the profit and loss thing. But let's go move it to the next thing. What about value? What about the value of this program? We've already got return on investment. But what about VOI? Value on investment. It's a broader assessment that considers both financial and non-financial benefits. This includes those quantitative aspects like improving employee morale. I had a manager one time, we had some workplace issues and they were worried about some layoffs coming down the pipe. And the manager told me, he said, well, if the morals was as bad as the morale, this would be a fun place to work. And kind of that made a point. Increase productivity, enhance brand reputation. That's the value here. How about those employees going out to other companies or to other employees and talking about how their company feels about them as an employee and their well-being? Building stronger relationships. So which one is better? Actually, they're both the same. Deciphering financial wellness products. If you're looking for outside vendors to do this, look for well-being factors. How are they dealing with that from a holistic strategy? Address employers' unique culture and demographics. It's not a one-size-fits-all program. Sustainable solutions oriented. Look for the long term. How is not going to fix today, but how is this going to prepare them in the long run? Go ahead and move forward. So here about when I have employers come back and say, well, we can't afford financial wellness. Remember that statistics I talked about a while ago, those 39% of the employees cost $150,000 a year just in those lost time when they're on the job dealing with their personal financial issues. There's some dollar figures there to think about if you can't afford this or not. But some examples is CareerRise and the partnerships with SHRM. But also seek vendors that have a social mission. There's vendors out there, for instance, that I've worked with that have that work with nonprofits in the communities. These guys don't cost money. So in other words, when the C-suite says we can't afford it, think about working with the collaborations and the local initiatives. There's companies that are for-profit companies, but there's a company called Your Kids. I think we'll provide you some links to them. your kids is just a simple thing of gifting money to children for college savings. It builds financial education at an early age. Parents working with children and helps them teach wellness, financial capability issues to children. Then you've got the emergency savings program. This is a company up in Virginia, for instance, that is it's called Sunny Day Fund. Sunny Day Fund, it's a savings component. They are a benefits program, so it's a benefit offering for employers. There's another company out there just recently rebranded, used to be called True Connect, and now they're branded as Benny Money, BENE Money, and they do loans. They do emergency loans. And the whole purpose for them to work, and it's a social mission, is to work with employees to provide them the funds they need to keep them from going to payday lenders. And then they can finance for over 12 months instead of 2 weeks, over 12 months, pay it back at maybe less than 20% interest, no more than a credit card. And at the same time, they get the training that says, okay, we're going to train you how not to get in this situation again. They're not going to get them into that vicious circle that employees get into with payday lenders. So that's pretty much where I'm headed with this, with the end of the program. We can wrap it up. On the takeaways, we talked about financial wellness versus capability. We talked about the trends, which basically the statistics, potential company risk and costs, addressing the right solutions for the specific culture, talking about a proactive strategy, and then creating that value proposition. Get the employee loyalty and enhance the retention. I don't want to go to another company because this one over here, this other company offers a financial wellness program that addresses my needs. You don't. Why not provide something that has them want to stay because you are caring for their financial wellness? So with that, I'm just going to say thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Bill. And for anyone who's interested in seeing some of the resources or notes that Bill had with his presentation, those will be part of the downloadable version of this presentation that'll come out in our digest. So now we're open up for questions and answers. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat now, or you can use the raise hand function to raise your hand, and we'll let you come off of mute to ask your question out loud. So we'll give our audience just a moment here to put any questions they might have into our chat or to raise their hand. So while we're waiting for questions, Bill, just for your benefit, our audience is saying this was great. Thank you so much. This was awesome, very informative. So maybe you've done such a good job today that our viewers don't have any questions. I'll give just about 30 more seconds to watch for any other questions or feedback that might be coming in, and then we'll move forward. One person did ask Bill how they can get in contact with you.
The end of that slide has my contact information. And you can also connect up with me on LinkedIn. And some of those groups that I mentioned earlier that we have worked with community initiatives, they're also on LinkedIn, have a good presence on there. But feel free to connect up with me on LinkedIn. Or if you can see right here, my email address. And my firm is QAR Financial. QAR is a simple thing. It stands for Quality, Assets, and Resources. And hopefully I provided you resources.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. So, Bill, great job. Thank you so much. Really informative presentation today and touching on a very timely topic. I know many of us are feeling the financial pinch right now. And as leaders in our organizations and leaders of people, I think it's incumbent upon us to really support those people who report to us or members of our respective organizations in addressing financial challenges, however they might present. So thank you very much. Of course, we want you to stay involved with us. Webinars are a great entry point to CareerRise and some of the programming and information we have to offer. Signing up for our email digest, make sure you don't miss anything that we have on offer. Another way to stay connected with us is through our LinkedIn page. So we invite you to continue to attend our webinars, share them with any colleagues you have, especially HR professionals. We'll get to the bonus treat here in just a moment. And stay connected with us by email or by social media. So a look ahead at some of our webinars. We'll have in August a webinar on helping employees navigate life challenges, a nice follow-up from today's conversation, some additional work or some additional follow-up on work we've been doing in youth work development, and then some really more great topics coming up for the remainder of the year. Make sure to stay in contact with us. Email us at industry.partnerships@careerriseatlanta.org. Follow us on LinkedIn. Give us a call. We'd love to stay connected with you in any way we can. So leaving it at that, we appreciate you sharing your morning with us today. Have a great rest of the day and a great week.